before the sun had time to shine on the vast Atlantic Ocean. Fishing boats hundreds of meters long had already begun their journey from the dock. There was no noise, no trumpets, only the rumbling of engines in the cold morning mist, signaling a new day full of hope but also full of challenges. European fishermen drifting in the vast ocean not only to make a living, they also represent a giant seafood industry, where each time they cast their nets, a sea of fish is caught in a giant enclosure. On the deck, each person wears a life jacket, a hard hat, and thick boots, preparing for a series of continuous working hours. They check the machinery, test the engine, the positioning equipment, and carefully observe the fish radar, an advanced tool that helps them accurately identify schools of fish moving in the deep sea. Everything must be precise down to the minute. Right time, right point, right current. If the timing is off, the whole trip could be empty-handed. The ship gradually entered the deep sea, where cold currents carried schools of fat fish such as mackerel, sardines, herring and mackerel. The sky was gray with clouds. The cold wind blew straight into their faces. But no one cared. Their eyes were still glued to the screen showing the fish's position. Then the signal appeared. The moment they had been waiting for had come. The giant cable system began to release the net. A net hundreds of square meters wide was lowered deep into the sea, where light could not penetrate. But the fish's survival instinct could not save them from the impending siege. The moment the net was pulled was the moment the whole ship was as tense as a bowstring. Everyone was in position. Someone operating the crane. Someone standing watching the anchor point. Someone preparing the fish storage. The heavy iron cables shook violently. The net like a giant trap slowly rose to the surface of the water. The sea suddenly rolled. Millions of fish, sparkling white, squirming under the headlights, flashing like silver lightning. A rain of fish poured onto the deck, spilling into every corner, even into the fishermen's salty boots. They didn't talk much, just the commander's shouts, the screech of the crane, the sound of fish hitting the deck and the constant hum of machinery. Layers of fish were sucked into the conveyor belt. Where the machines automatically separated big fish from small fish, valuable fish from injured fish. Those that qualified were immediately sent into the freezing system, where the cold air was so cold that anyone who entered had to wear a mask, gloves and thick fur coat. Here, the fish would freeze in a few minutes, keeping them as fresh as if they had just been caught. In the rear processing bay, workers were working tirelessly. Some were cutting the fish. Some were cutting off the heads. Some were gutting them. All were working in a synchronized rhythm as if programmed. Even though the deck of the ship is tilted by the big waves, they still stand firm, their hands working non-stop. Fish blood splatters, mixing with seawater and sweat. They are used to it, used to this fierce rhythm of life since their early years. A catch can last up to several hours, depending on the volume of the catch. Each time like that, the fishermen have to work continuously without rest, because if they do not process the fish in time, the value of the fish will be lost. In the middle of the sea, there is no room for delay. Every minute that passes is precious. They work amid the noise of the engine, the smell of fish, the sound of the machine, and the sound of the waves crashing against the side of the ship. When the fish tank is full, the ship will move on to a new fishing ground, dozens of nautical miles away. Just like that, the journey of the fishermen in the Sea of Europe lasts for weeks. Some people do not set foot on land for a whole month. They live on the boats, sleep in shifts, eat quick meals, and watch day and night for rough seas, torn nets, or broken machinery in the middle of the night. They do all of this not just for money, they do it for their traditional craft, for their love of the sea, and for the survival of an entire industry in which Europe is leading the world. Fish is not just food. Fish are the white gold of the ocean. A symbol of wealth, a source of life for millions of people from small fishing villages to giant processing corporations. No one can truly understand the feeling of standing in the middle of the night sea, surrounded by only waves and wind, and still pulling up hundreds of tons of fish in a single net, if they have never been on a boat. It is a magical combination of nature and man, of technology and survival instinct. Giant schools of fish are surrounded like a miniature ocean, giving way to humans to exploit and control. The fish are then distributed far and wide, from processing plants in Spain, the Netherlands, and Italy, to markets as far away as Japan, the United States, and China. Millions of meals a day around the world are made from the sweat of European fishermen, who do not fear storms. Cold, or day or night. Some say, the sea is a lonely profession. But for them, loneliness is not as scary as returning empty-handed after a long trip. That is why, every time they cast their nets, it is a gamble with their time, their health, and sometimes even their lives. But the fishermen still go out to sea, continue to cast their nets to catch fish in the deep sea, because that is the only way they survive. And also the way they keep the European seafood economy strong. As the ship gradually cuts deeper into the colder waters, the sea surface becomes darker, and the wind also begins to increase in gusts. This is the key fishing area, where the ocean currents carry countless migratory fish. Gathering in large schools, the atmosphere on board becomes tense, but everyone quietly prepares for the next catch, which could be the biggest of the day, or the one that decides the success or failure of the whole trip. The captain orders to slow down. The fish finder scanned the seabed continuously, showing dense masses of movement, a clear sign that a giant school of fish was moving below. Everyone on board immediately took their positions. Once again, the nets weighing several tons were pushed out of the hold, dropped into the deep sea like an invisible net that was slowly expanding in the middle of the ocean. Each strand of net quietly drifted along the water, surrounding the target they had aimed for. In the sea, the school of fish continued to swim, not realizing that the trap was gradually tightening. They were creatures familiar with the sea, living by instinct and migratory rhythm. But this time, they could not escape the giant encirclement that was being pulled up by dozens of people. Using modern machinery and resilient human strength. From the bottom, the net gradually closed. The water pressure increased. The net vibrated violently. A silvery color began to appear under the weak sunlight. Then more. More, as if the whole sea of fish was surging. A loud shout rang out from the bow of the ship. The operation team immediately activated the net lifting system. Each section of fish was sucked up by a specialized pump, pouring into the tank like a living waterfall. The sound of the machine was like a war drum. Each wave of fish falling down made the deck slippery, but no one took their hands off their positions. People standing under the net quickly used shovels to scoop the fish onto the conveyor belt. Others checked the temperature of the freezer. Others stood at the sorting table. The chain of operations did not stop, like a giant machine programmed to collect, process and store the entire output in the shortest time possible. Inside the ship's hold, the fish after being sorted will be sent to different processing areas. Those for fresh consumption will be put into a cold storage with a precise temperature of -2 degrees Celsius to preserve the flavor. Those for processing will be transferred to the preliminary processing area, where dozens of workers stand in rows, using knives to cut open the fish, clean it and arrange it neatly. These steps take place continuously, repeating endlessly like a dance of labor in the middle of the ocean. The pressure comes not only from the wind and waves or the weight of the fish, but also from the time factor. If it is too slow, the fish will be damaged, meaning a total loss. If the process is wrong, the product will not meet export standards. Therefore, everyone on the ship must work with high spirit. No one has time to complain about fatigue. No one allows themselves to be late, because if just one link is out of order, the whole system will be in chaos. After more than 2 hours of continuous work, the hold is almost half full. The captain notes the quantity, marks the coordinates of the catch and heads the ship west, where another school of fish is being identified via satellite. The fish just pulled up are still twitching, their scales still shining like pearls. No one has time to admire them, they have moved on to the next batch. And so the work goes on in an endless cycle: netting, pulling in fish, sorting, processing, freezing. A day at sea has no concept of morning or night. Only before the catch and after the catch. Life on board is a series of monotonous and harsh days. There is no internet, no entertainment. During the rare breaks, they just lean against the ship's wall, looking out at the silent Black Sea, listening to the waves as if calling. Some people take the opportunity to write a few lines in their diary. Some call their wives and children by satellite phone, telling them they are safe. Some sit silently, just to catch their breath before continuing the cycle of work. However, no one wants to leave the job. The oldest people on board have lived their whole lives with the wind and waves. Unable to imagine any other life outside of the sea, they teach the younger generation how to read the wind, how to watch the water currents, how to observe fish behavior without the need for technology. Those experiences are not found in books, they are life experiences. The wisdom passed down from generations, so that an ancient profession can still exist in the modern century. On land, few people know the true scale of the European fishing industry. It is one of the most organized, modern and strictly controlled in the world. Each vessel has GPS tracking devices, surveillance cameras, load sensors and automatic reporting systems that send data to national fisheries management centers. Catch figures are recorded in real time. compared with regional quotas and regulations. Any irregularities are detected immediately, and the penalties are severe. Fleets are often organized as cooperatives or consortia, where each vessel is just one link in a huge supply chain. From fishermen to processing plants, cold storage, distribution and export systems, everything operates in a tightly linked mechanism. It is this model that allows fish caught in Europe to reach every corner of the world. From large supermarkets in Tokyo and New York to traditional fish markets in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. But behind those huge numbers and profits, there are countless drops of sweat and hardships of fishermen, people who face the sea day and night, not afraid of wading in the ice, not afraid of waves as high as buildings. They live simply, but with great pride, because they are feeding millions of people on this planet. When the last cold storage on the ship was full, when there was no more space to store more fish, the captain ordered a change of direction. The ship began its journey back to the mainland, through each long wave, carrying the results of days of harsh labor, hundreds of tons of fresh fish, frozen, classified and carefully packaged. Each fish in the hold is a unit of value, the sweat and effort of dozens of people. On the way back to port, the atmosphere on the ship changed dramatically. The urgency temporarily subsided. The fishermen took the opportunity to wash their clothes, rearrange their equipment, check their machines, and record their journeys in their logbooks. Some rested their arms on the railings, watching the sunset dye the sea red, a light they rarely had time to enjoy. Conversations began to buzz about fish prices, about the upcoming weather forecast, about the ships they happened to meet in the open sea. As land gradually appeared on the horizon, seagulls began to appear, a sign that the ship was nearing port. Refrigerated trucks, cranes, and stevedores were waiting at the port. The ship's horn sounded a long blast, signaling the end of a successful fishing trip. As soon as the ship anchored, the unloading process was quickly implemented. Each frozen fish crate was lifted by crane, placed on a specialized truck, and transferred to the wholesale fish market or processing plant. The fish auction takes place immediately afterwards, usually starting early in the morning, when the fish is still deep cold, maintaining its perfect freshness. Sophisticated buyers, representing supermarkets, restaurant chains, international traders, jostle to choose. Bid on each lot. The market atmosphere is lively and urgent. Each lot of fish is checked for weight, quality, species and date of catch. Prices change with each auction, and sometimes in just a few minutes. The entire output of hundreds of tons of fish has been distributed everywhere. A portion of the fish is brought to seafood processing plants right near the port. Here, the process of slicing, deboning, marinating, vacuuming and canning is carried out by modern, continuously operating lines. The fish, after leaving the sea for only a few dozen hours, are transformed into trays of frozen fish, high-end packaged fillets, or canned fish with European labels exported globally. Another part is kept in its original form, whole fresh fish, and sent to food courts, fish markets, or high-end restaurants. Here, professional chefs will use the freshly caught fish to prepare specialties such as Portuguese salt grilled fish, Spanish fried fish, or European sashimi, dishes that require ingredients so fresh that each piece of meat still retains its elasticity and natural sweetness from the sea. Fish is not only a commercial product, but also the soul of European culinary culture. From the cold northern Europe to the warm Mediterranean, fish is present in every meal. From popular dishes to royal banquets, fish is not only eaten, fish is also told as a story. Each type of fish has a legend. Each sea has its own recipe, passed down from generation to generation as a spiritual heritage. After the auctions, after the fish have been shipped, the fishermen return home for a few short days before continuing their new voyage. They do not rest much, because the work cycle does not wait. At the port, wives welcome their husbands, children cling to their fathers. Laughter breaks out after many days away. Some people take advantage of the time to repair the boat, maintain equipment, prepare fuel, because in just a few days, the boat will break the waves and leave the shore. Again. But there are those who do not return. There are fishermen who are injured, have accidents at sea, or quietly disappear on a stormy night. The sea is like that, generous but also cruel. It gives people a source of life, but also demands sacrifice. On each boat, everyone knows sad stories, hats left on the deck, knives left in the cold compartment, as a reminder of the fragility of the fishing profession. That is why the sea is always respected by the people. Fishermen are not just manual laborers, they are pioneers in the harsh natural environment. The extension of tradition and modernity, the hands that keep the flow of fish from the sea flowing into the lives of millions of people. They work not only for income, but also for pride, for the survival of their ancestors' profession. Today, the European fishing industry is changing dramatically. Marine protection policies are strictly implemented. No overfishing, no hunting of juvenile fish, no dumping of waste into the sea.